The chair is privileged to recognize the senator from Coffee, who will read the resolution for these distinguished Georgians.
I'm down on my knees. I'm so tired of being lonely. Don't I give you what you need? It's love. I say it's love. Well, pass you by glory days. You know, when there were young girls. Shining all through the city, prettiest I've ever seen. And the world decides. Running wide, 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 wide open. And it's a fine, 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 fine world.
Recognize the distinguished senator from Coffee.
Thank you, President. First of all, let me say it's indeed a great honor and privilege today to introduce my very special guest and a great Georgian, Jennifer Nettles. And today I'm going to read a resolution for Jennifer. And it says, recognizing and commending Mrs. Jennifer Nettles. Jennifer Nettles was raised in Douglas, Georgia, where she excelled in school, was an active member of the Coffee County 4-H program, and whereas she diligently and conscientiously devoted her time, talents, and energy for 8 years to the 4-H program as an officer, a camp counselor at Rock Eagle 4-H Center, and a member of the 4-H Clovers and Company. A graduate of Agnes Scott College, Ms. Nettles honed her musical talents through her work with fellow musicians in Georgia bands, Soul Miner's Daughter and the Jennifer Nettles Band, whereas now being a music industry leader, Ms. Nettles has received worldwide acclaim as lead singer, songwriter, and duo member in the group Sugarland. Whereas Sugarland's incredible talent has been recognized with numerous honors, accolades, including 2 Grammy Awards for Best Country Performance by a Duo, Best Country Song, Country Music's Award for Best Duo of the Year, and American Breakthrough New Artist Award. Whereas Sugarland featuring Jennifer Nettles appeared on the world stage performing Wide Open as part of the 2010 United States Olympic Team soundtrack. Whereas she consistently provides extraordinary entertainment as a performer on the world stage and has brought great recognition to her hometown, to 4-H, and to her family. And the state of Georgia is proud that this talented musician and international ambassador calls the state of Georgia her home. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend Ms. Jennifer Nettles on her remarkable accomplishments in the music industry and recognize her exemplary service in uplifting the lives of others. My fellow colleagues, Jennifer Nettles is a tremendous and wonderful role model to all young men and women in that she is a perfect example of how hard work, desire, and determination has led to success. Jennifer, I'm so proud of you. And if you would, let's give a warm Senate welcome to Georgia's own country music superstar, Ms. Jennifer Nettles.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Senate. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here today at this very busy, this is your high season where everything's real busy, I understand. Everybody's working on budgets and getting everything passed and moved and straightened out in all of this. And I've had fun today being, as I call it, backstage in all these offices, watching everybody and learning a bit about what you do. So thank you for indulging me. And Senator Goggins, obviously he is here now, but he was my orthodontist in Douglas, Georgia. And I do have to thank you because when you have your teeth on a Jumbotron about this big behind your head every night, you want your teeth to look good. So he did a good job on that. I appreciate it. Yes. But I'm here today actually on behalf of 4-H, and if you don't mind indulging me for just a few minutes, I would love to tell you my 4-H story. I know you guys are very supportive, and many of you have been 4-Hers and are familiar with the program. But I've been a 4-Her since I was in the 5th grade at Satilla Elementary School in Douglas, Georgia, Coffee County. And when the county agent came there that day, we learned the 4-H pledge, and it is, I pledge my head to clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living for my club, my community, my country, and my world. And those are big words for a 5th grader. They are big words for a grown-up as well. But those words changed my life and shaped my life as not only a person, but also a performer. When I was in the 5th grade, I auditioned for and was selected to be a part of a performing arts group called Clovers and Company, which is through the Georgia 4-H program. It's about 35 students from 5th grade to 12th grade, and I was a member of it from the 5th grade until I graduated high school. And during that time, we traveled around, we sang show tunes, we danced, we had a band that was all students as well, and they played the music for us, and we toured for conventions and conferences for 4-H, for the Sunbelt Expo in Moultrie, Georgia, anything and everything we traveled throughout. I also had the opportunity with them to travel through Kentucky and Florida. I'd never been anywhere outside of Douglas with the exception of maybe, Fernandina Beach in Florida, which is, for vacation. But otherwise, I had never been anywhere. When I was in the 7th grade with Clovers and Company, I was able to go to Chicago, Illinois. It was my first time ever on an airplane. And 4-H allowed that to happen, to give me that kind of experience, to learn about things outside of my hometown. And I went there and we performed for National Congress, which is basically a group of teenagers, 4-Hers who are there, and I was backstage and learned how to be calm and learned how to be confident and do wardrobe changes and walk out there in front of all of my peers and hopefully gave a good performance, though I don't remember, it was so long ago, but we'll say it was good. But what it did do, the whole 4-H experience with Clovers and Company did help me as a performer. So last year, which you saw here on the video at the top, when I stepped out on stage at the inaugural concert on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in front of 800,000 people, which is the most people I've ever performed in front of, and the President of the United States and the First Lady and the Vice President and his wife and family, that was a piece of cake because I had had all of this experience to pull from and draw from, and nothing is scarier than being a teenager anyway, walking out in front of other teenagers. So that was what I call perspective and what I like to think of as clearer thinking here that it says in that case for my country. Then when I was in the 12th grade, I went to something called National Conference, which is in Washington, D.C., my second time on an airplane. And there were delegates there from all over the United States, 4-Hers, including Puerto Rico. And I met the Puerto Rican delegation, and I fell in love with them. And that summer, instead of going on my senior cruise, I decided I wanted to go to Puerto Rico and meet these people and their families. So I did. And I fell in love with the language. And consequently, when I went to Agnes Scott College here in Atlanta, Georgia, I studied anthropology and Spanish, which I have laughed and said, they're really good tools for a country singer. But I went on after that, for example, to study that culture, and now I have a humanitarian organization in Guatemala that takes kids and takes doctors down there, and they give them surgeries for children that otherwise would not be able to live or afford these surgeries. So now I can make a direct line from 4-H at that national conference to this organization, and there's a kid somewhere in Guatemala today who doesn't have a cleft palate or whose kidneys actually function because of that experience that I had. You never know what happens in the life of a child. Then when I was in college, speaking of what happens in the life of a child, I was a camp counselor for 3 summers at Rock Eagle 4-H Center. Now the 4-H, yes, in Eatonton, Georgia. The 4-H camping program, we have 5 camping facilities, and we camp about 10,000 kids per summer. A lot of times for these kids, it's their only time ever having been outside their hometown as well. And they get to be kids at a time when we all grow up so quickly. They get to learn things like swimming and volleyball and go on the nature trail and dance and crafts and all of that. And for me, as a young person, being able to see the excitement in a child's eyes when he learns how to swim for the first time, or to see a little girl look up at you when you're painting her fingernails outside the dining hall, and know that she can't even believe it because it might be the only time she's been touched out of kindness. That makes a difference in children's lives. And I think that that's greater service for my community. So I'm here today on behalf of 4-H, and obviously you guys have remembered 4-H, and I appreciate that, and to ask you to continue to remember that and remember the story of how it changes at least one life that I am certain that it did, and I'm here today because of it. So I hope that you will remember that, and I call that greater loyalty for my club. So thank you so much. Good luck in all this busyness.
Thank you, Jennifer. And she has provided for each one on the desk individual songs from singers who have been involved
4-Hers.
with 4-Hers.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Young lady, you owe all your success to Senator Goggins straightening your mouth out. And he is a great Georgian, and we're all for him, and you are his crowning glory.